So today we're going to discuss about Srila Rupa Goswami and Srila Gauridas Pandit, it being their disappearance days today. Om Ajnanatimmirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chaksurun Militam Jena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namah Sri Chaitanya Manubhistam Stapitam Jena Bhutale Sayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Svapadandigam Aradhanastranandandai Ridam Yache Puna Puna Srimad Rupa Padambujo Dilisyam Janma Janmani Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripasindhu Vacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah. So we can't even begin to imagine the great contribution that Srila Rupa Goswami has given to the mission of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Every day in our Mangalacharan we repeat this verse, Sri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Sva Padantikam. The Sri Chaitanya Manobhistam. Man means the heart. Manobhistam, the deep desire within the heart. Sri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Jena Bhutale. That desire was hidden. We read in Chaitanya Charitamrita that there was two purposes for Mahaprabhu's appearance in this world. One was to establish this Sankirtan Yajna as the process for self-realization in this dark age of Kali. But secondly, there was a deeper meaning, deeper purpose, and that was to glorify this Braja Prem, this special ras, Braj Ras, the special prem, the highest goal of our life is to achieve the prem of Radha and Krishna. That was hidden ras. First part of his life, Mahaprabhu was preaching Sankirtan. The last part, he remained with Swarup Damodar and Ramananda Roy, relishing this Braja Prem, which is very difficult to understand. So therefore, Sri Chaitanya, that hidden desire within the heart of Mahaprabhu, Stapitam. Just like we say, Iskan Samstapakacharya Srila Prabhupada. He established that mission within Stapitam Jena Bhutale, on the surface of this earth. Sri Chaitanya Manubhisam Stapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Sva Padantikam. We're offering our obeisance to that Srila Rupa Goswami, who established this Braja Prem, this Krishna consciousness movement in this material world. Just like we know we have this book by Srila Rupa Goswami, Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Nectar of Devotion. And Prabhupada has told us that is the law book for bhakti. So he has established this within this material world. And he's none other, according to Gauragana Desha Deepika, he's none other than Rupa Manjari. Therefore he knows all the secret things. Manjari is their younger. Sometimes from older persons we hide some things. We're afraid to express, just like our parents, we never told them so many things that we did when we were young. But with our younger brothers and sisters, and younger friends, we would reveal so many secret things that we did that our parents didn't know about. So, to the younger, we may not hide so many things. We reveal everything. So he's none other than Rupa Manjari. He knows all the secret things of Radha and Krishna's pastimes. He's Rupa Manjari. Manjari, just like when we offer the water to the Lord, we always put a little Tulsi Manjari. And that fragrance spreads throughout the water, becomes very pleasing to the Lord. So Rupa Goswami is that little manjari that spreads this knowledge of Braja Prem to the whole world. When we go to Rupa Goswami's bhajan place in Ter Kadam, above his little shrine honoring him, there's a very nice verse that Akinchana Krishnadas Babaji, Srila Prabhupada's godbrother, always was very fond of chanting. And it's a verse by Srila Raghunath Das Goswami, written in his, I believe it's in Mukta Charitra, glorifying Srila Rupa Goswami. He says, Aradanastanandantai Ridam Yache Puna Puna Srimad Rupa Padambujo Duli Syam Janma Janmani. That Aradanastanandantai Trinam Dantai. Trin we know from Trinadapi Suni. Trin means straw. The straw on the street. Because the straw on the street, he's always lying flat. Sometimes we translate it as grass. Some translators think a piece of grass. But the grass, he only fakes humility. As soon as you step on him, he goes down. As soon as you go away, boop, he comes back up. But the straw on the street, the grass on the street, he's always paying his sastang pranams. Like that. Dantai, just like we have the word in English, dental. We can understand. Taking a straw between my teeth. Raghunath Das Goswami says, I take a piece of straw between my teeth. This is always a sign of humility. We take some straw between our teeth. Adadanaschanandantai, idam rache puna puna. Yachna means to beg. Puna puna, I'm begging again and again. What I'm begging for? Srimad Rupa Padam Bujo. Duli. Ambu means water, and Ja, just like in a couple of weeks we're going to celebrate Jamastami, Ja means born. Who's born from the water? The lotus. Ambuja is another name for lotus. Padambujo, Padam, we know Padayatra. That those lotus feet of Srila Rupa Goswami, Duli. Duli means dust, just like we heard of Padaduli, Braja Duli. I just want that dust of the lotus feet of Srila Rupa Janmani in my birth, in my life, birth after birth after birth after birth. This is the beautiful prayer of Srila Raghunath Das Goswami. So, just about a month ago we were discussing Sanatana Goswami, so we know that their Rupa and Sanatana were brothers. Jiva was their nephew, son of Anupam. And we heard that their family originally was in Karnataka, in a very high caste Brahmin family from Karnataka. Gradually their ancestors moved to Naihati, and eventually they moved to Jasore, where Rupa and Sanatana Jiva, everyone made their appearance. From Jasore they moved to Ramakeli, just near God. And we told at that time that Sanatana Goswami and Rupa Goswami, they were drafted into the service of the Mohammedan king, Nawab Hussain Shah. Because of this, we heard that Hindu society was very rigid. They were rejected by the ordinary people from Brahmin society. And we know that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, one time he decided to go to Vrindavan, but Vrindavan is west from Puri. But he went north to Bengal. In fact, he went so far north, he came all the way to Ramakeli. And actually reveals he was not actually going to Vrindavan, he came just to save Rupa and Sanatana. Because he wanted them for his preaching mission, very important mission. Especially to re-establish Vrindavan. So he came to Ramakeli. I've been there in Gaud. It's a very, very beautiful place. So much greenery, so beautiful. We can just imagine, 500 years before, when Nawab Hussain Shah was ruling and keeping everything tidy and nice and decorating everything. Very beautiful place. And we saw that house of Rupa and Sanatan, where their deity was Madan Mohan. And beautiful Tamal tree is still there. That Tamal tree is where Rupa and Sanatan paid their obeisances to Mahaprabhu from a distance, because they felt themselves very fallen. Mahaprabhu called them near and accepted them and told them to study Srimad Bhagavatam, and very soon Krishna will free you from your predicament, because they were trapped in this kingly service. So then they advised Mahaprabhu, don't go to Vrindavan. Mahaprabhu was going with thousands and thousands of people following him. And he said, this is not the way to go to Vrindavan. Vrindavan is a very simple place. It was a very simple place. At that time there was no Krishna Balaram guest house, no MBT guest house. Where will all these people stay? Prabhupada has not come and made Vrindavan, put Vrindavan on the map yet. You'll have to wait. So accepting Rupa Goswami, he went as far as Kanai Natshala, then he considered what Rupa Goswami had said was correct. So he went back to Puri. Then another time he went to Vrindavan and actually went to Vrindavan. But he had ordered Rupa and Sanatan that somehow you get free and you come to Vrindavan. I'm also going soon. So it wasn't so easy, especially Rupa had become he'd actually even taken a Muslim name, Dabir Khas, and he was a treasurer, and Sanatana Goswami, you heard, was the prime minister. So it wasn't so easy, and they thought about it. So they decided that since Sanatana Goswami's position was very essential, it would be very difficult for him to get permission, so better Rupa to get permission first, then Sanatana would figure out how to get free. So Rupa was thinking about this for some time. Then there was a very huge storm in Bengal. Trees were blowing over, rivers were flooding. Very heavy rainstorm was going on. And in that heavy rainstorm there was a palanquin with beautiful embroidered cloth covering the palanquin, and 4 pallbearers trying to go through the mud, splash, splash, lightning flashing. And inside that palanquin was sitting none other than Rupa Goswami, the Prime Minister. Nawab Hussain Shah had called him. So sloshing through the night, they made some noise, and they passed one villager's house, washerwoman. And her husband said, "Who's there? What is that sound?" And the wife said, washerwoman, she said, it must be either on such a night as this, it can only be a dog, a thief, or kisi raja ka gulam, the slave of some king. And those words, the washerwoman's words, hit Rupa Goswami's ears. And he thought about it. Just like a dog, unless he has some good master, he's very difficult to lead his life very nicely. He's in suffering condition. And he's always ready to the beck and call of his master with a chain around his neck. He said, my chain, here I'm sitting in this beautiful palanquin, gold-plated palanquin, gold-leaf palanquin, embroidered cloth, everything, and I'm chained to this Nawab Hussain Shah, just like a dog. And a thief, he steals others' property and sells it and makes money to live his life. So I'm selling my life to this king. And with the money I get, I'm trying to enjoy in this material world. I'm just like a thief. Raja ka gulam. Gulam means nothing but a slave. So who else would go out on such a night? A dog, a thief, or kisi Raja ka gulam? So then when he heard those words, he said, now is the time, I'm leaving, this is it. He went back, he told Sanatan, if we both leave now, the Nawab, because he's having a big war with the king of Orissa, He'll think that we've taken the side of the king of Rajasthan and he'll persecute our relatives. So better I go and then we'll see how to get you free. So Rupa Goswami immediately, he took all of his possessions back to Jasore and distributed everything to all the Brahmins and Vaishnavas, and some to his family members, some he kept for emergency, and he left 10,000 gold coins with one merchant in the town. One grocer was there. In the old days we didn't keep our money in the banks, we kept it with the grocer, the businessman. Because in India, we all know merchant class of men means Vaishya, but in India we never use that word Vaishya, we say Baniya. So Baniya, bank, almost same sound. So that was the banking system. He left 10,000 with the banker, the Baniya. And he headed off towards Vrindavan. He took Anupam with him. When they reached to Prayag, they got the word that Mahaprabhu had already been to Vrindavan and was returning, and had reached Prayag the couple of days before. Rupa Goswami's joy knew no bounds. They heard that he was at Beni Madhav temple. So they went there. A very beautiful old temple is there, very nice place. Beautiful deity, form of Lord Vishnu, Beni Madhav, very sweet. And they saw Mahaprabhu dancing in ecstasy, be surrounded by thousands of people. And Rupa Goswami was shedding tears, Anupam was shedding tears, seeing the ecstasy of Mahaprabhu. They didn't bother him at that time, but later they heard that he was staying somewhere near Dasashwamedha Ghat. So there they came and paid their obeisances from afar. But Mahaprabhu called them. On that Dasashwamedha Ghat, we've been there when we have Kumbh Mela in Allahabad. We always, 2 or 3 times during the Mela, we take our Sankirtan party to that Dasashwamedha Ghat, where Rupa Goswami sat with Mahaprabhu for 10 days, and Mahaprabhu revealed everything about the whole science of bhakti, practically the whole nectar devotion he gave him. He started from Shraddha to Sadhu Sangha to Anartha Nivritti, all the way above, and finally to Prem. He instructed everything to Rupa Goswami, revealed to him the science of devotional service in great detail. So then he told him, you hurry on. He wanted to go, Mahaprabhu was going back to Puri. He wanted to go to Puri with Mahaprabhu. He said, no, no, you continue on to Vrindavan. There's a lot of work for you to do. Now one thing to notice, he chose Rupa and Sanatan for this work of revealing the sacred places. This was very, very intelligent on Mahaprabhu's part. Because we just heard they were the servants of the Nawab Hussain Shah. So they had experience dealing with these Muslim rulers. So it wasn't going to go noticed, as we see that we're not far from Delhi, and we're even closer to Agra, both seats of Muslim power at that time. The Sultan was there in Delhi, and Akbar was there in Agra. It was not going to go unnoticed that they were establishing temples and establishing deities. This would not go unnoticed by these rulers. They had their spies everywhere. But Rupa and Sanatan and Jiva Goswami, they're very clever how to deal with these type of people. As long as Rupa and Sanatan were there, they managed to establish their temples and everything. It was later, after they left. So this work was so dear to Mahaprabhu. He gave this work especially to Rupa and Sanatan. We heard also about Bhugarbha and Lokanath and Bhugarbha. Especially Rupa and Sanatan were very important to get this work done. And now we see Vrindavan. Otherwise, we wouldn't see Vrindavan if it wasn't for Rupa and Sanatan. So he continued on to Vrindavan. He got to Mathura. He ran into Subhuti Roy, who was very dear to Sriman Mahaprabhu. And Subhuti Roy took him to tour all the holy places, the 12 forests of Braj. Gave him preliminary tour. So then after that, somehow Rupa decided he wanted to go to, or maybe Mahaprabhu had sent some message, not through Messenger or WhatsApp, but those days somehow somebody would be going somewhere, oh, you carry this letter, a handwritten letter. They carry it, he give it to somebody else, he give it to, finally he reaches the goal after a month or so, 2 months, 3 months. Like that, we can't imagine how we have instant messenger. And called him to Puri. So Rupa Goswami returned with Anupam. When they reached Bengal, then somehow Anupam left his body. They were supposed to go to Puri, but Anupam said, we have to. They did everything very responsibly. Not that they renounced the world and left people in trouble, but they had many relatives who were dependent upon them. So they wanted to settle up some family business. But Anupam died. So then Rupa Goswami got delayed. So all the Srimananda Sen and all the devotees who were going to Puri for Rath Yatra, they left. Rupa Goswami had to settle up some family business. So he settled up that family business and he came to Puri. When he came to Puri, he went to stay at Siddhabakul with Haridas Thakur. Because Rupa Goswami and Sanatana Goswami, Jiva Goswami, they never entered the Jagannath temple. Neither did Haridas Thakur. Because they felt themselves very fallen and contaminated. So Haridas was overjoyed to get the association of Rupa Goswami. He told that Mahaprabhu had already, because Mahaprabhu knows everything, he knew Rupa Goswami was coming. And he says, he comes here to see me every day. So next day, Mahaprabhu came. He saw Rupa Goswami, he was very happy. He immediately embraced him and welcomed him to Puri and told him, yes, you stay here with Haridas. Every day Mahaprabhu used to come. Rupa Goswami, he couldn't enter the temple, but the Supreme Personality of God in his form of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu used to come and visit him. We can't understand the position of Rupa Goswami. Then Rath Yatra festival came. During the Rath Yatra, Mahaprabhu used to chant one verse that sounded just like a cinema song. A young girl pining for her old boyfriend in her youth. And nobody could understand why he's singing cinema song like this. But Swarup Damodar, being very intimate associate of Mahaprabhu, he understood. He put this verse through his mind, spun it around his mind, and he understood. Rupa Goswami had come for the first time for Rath Yatra. He heard this verse. He immediately understood the meaning of this verse. Yeko mara harasa eva hibaras ta eva chaitra shapas te chon milita malati surabaya proda kadamba nila sachaiva smita tapi tatra surato vyapara lila vido reva rodasi vetasi tarutale Cheta samudkandate. So the girl is saying, Ye komara hara. That young boy, hara means to steal, who stole my heart in my youth. He's now present before me. And it is the same Chaitra Shabd. This is the month of Chaitra. Chapas means the full moon. The full moon of Chaitra is there. Techo milita malati surabaya. Surab means fragrance. The fragrance of malati is filling the breeze. And proda kadamba nila. Anil is another name for the wind, the breeze. Because Nil we know means blue, like Nila Madhav. So Anil, with no color. We don't see the air, the breeze. He has no color, Anila. Kadamba is proda, there's so much kadamba fragrance in the air. Sa chaivasmi tatapi tatra surato vyapara lila vido. But I'm remembering our wonderful pastimes together in our youth. Reva rodasi vetasi tarutale cheta samud kantate. Kanta means this throat. Just like these are called kantimala. Sometimes they will say kuntimala. But it's not kunti, kantimala. So utkant, above the neck. Sometimes our enthusiasm bubbles up beyond our neck. Utkant. Samudkant. This girl is saying, I'm extremely desirous to go back to that old place where we enjoyed so many leelas together, underneath by the river Reva, underneath the a betasi tree in the forest. I very desire, strongly desire. So Rupa Goswami heard this verse. So later he went back, after Rath Yatra, he went back to his bhajan kutir in Siddhabakul, and on a palm leaf he wrote a verse. Priyak soyam Krishna sahachari kurushetra militas tataham sarada taridam ubayo sangama sukam tatapyanta kelan madura murali panchamajuse mano me kalinni pulina vipinaya sprihayati. So it says, Sahachari, talking about my good friend. Priyam, I met my very dear friend, Priyapsam Krishna. I met my dear friend Krishna, Kurukshetra Militas. I met him in Kurukshetra. This is the meaning of this verse. This is Radharani seeing Krishna in Kurukshetra. Tataham saradha. I am the same Radha. Tadidam ubayam sangama sukam. In our meeting there is great happiness. But tatapi antakelan madura murali panchamadruse manome kalindi pulina bipinaya sprihayati. Spriha, we know, means to desire. I'm desiring to go back to the bank of the Kalindi, Bipinaya in the forest, where he's playing Antakelan Madura Murali, Panch on his Murali, he's playing on the 5th note, on his flute. Saragama pa, that's the 5th note. I'm desiring to go back there. So then he wrote this verse, he stuck the palm leaf in his thatched roof, and he went off to take his bath in the sea. Meanwhile, Mahaprabhu came there with Swarup Damodar. And Mahaprabhu himself said that Rupa Goswami, by his own mouth, he told Rupa Goswami's handwriting is like strings of pearls. This is Mahaprabhu's opinion of Rupa Goswami's handwriting. So that string of pearl handwriting caught his attention, stuck in the thatch. He pulled out this verse and he read it, and he looked at Swarup Damodar. He said, how this Rupa Goswami has understood my heart. That time Rupa Goswami appeared, so Mahaprabhu slapped him on the back as he paid his obeisance. We just imagine, just like our Indradutta Swami, he tells a story how he had to work very hard to get, somehow Prabhupada's baggage got lost in the airport and he had to get it. He got back to the temple, there was no prasad, there was no place to stay, there was nothing. You know, he came up, he delivered the bags to Prabhupada's room, he paid his obeisances, and Prabhupada slapped him on the back and told him, when you get to Goloka, there's no problem. You just imagine Mahaprabhu slapping him. And he looked at Swarup Damodar again, repeated, how has this Rupa Goswami understood my heart? And so Rupa Damodar says, it can only mean that you have bestowed your mercy upon him. And what did Mahaprabhu say? Yes, I met this Rupa at Prayag, and seeing him a fit personality, I have bestowed my entire transcendental mercy upon him. This is the first time Mahaprabhu says it, not once but twice we'll hear. I displayed my whole transcendental potency upon him. Now we can understand Rupa Goswami. Mahaprabhu's given it not once but twice we'll see. Meanwhile, Rupa had started a drama in Vrindavan describing Krishna's Vrindavan and Dwarka Leela in one drama. On his way to Puri, he passed through Cuttack, just a little ways south of Cuttack. I've been there, there's Satyabhamapur, beautiful temple of Satyabhama is there. Satyabhama came in his dream, he said, write a separate drama for me. So Rupa Goswami understood that Dwarka Leela and Vrindavan Leela shouldn't be mixed together. When he was staying in Siddhabakul, one time Mahaprabhu, out of the clear blue, because he never told anything about this drama that he was writing, but Mahaprabhu is the self-same Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, in everyone's heart. He knows everything. He told that don't try to take Krishna out of Vrindavan. That Yadu Kumar Krishna is Vasudev Krishna, Vasudev Krishna. And Brajendanandan Shyam Sundar is Sri Krishna himself. So then Rupa Goswami understood, yes, I have to divide it in two. So then Mahaprabhu heard that he was writing this drama. So he brought who? Ramananda Roy, Sarvabhauma and Ramananda Roy. Because Ramananda Roy, we know he's expert in relishing ras. He's one of those very close associates of Mahaprabhu. So he brought Ramananda Roy and Sarvabhauma to hear about this poet. He heard some verses already. So when he got there, he told Rupa, "You're writing a drama." Ramananda Roy asked him, "You're writing a drama?" And Mahaprabhu told, "Yes, you sing that verse, the hearing which all the devotees became joyful." Mahaprabhu had previously heard this verse from Rupa Goswami. So Rupa Goswami chanted this verse. Tunde tandavani ratim vitanute tundavali labdaye karna kroda kadambani gatayate karnarbudeva spriham Cheta prangana sangini vijayate sarvindriyanam kritim no jane janita kiyadbir amritai krishnete varna dvai. Krishnete varna dvai. I do not know how much amrit is in these two syllables, Krishna. When I chant, tunde means mouth or tongue, Tandavani, just like Lord Shiva does his tandav, his dance. That name dances on the tongue. In order to relish the taste on my tongue, Tundavali, I want to have so many tongues. Tundavali means to have many tongues. Karna, we know karna means the ear. Karna kroda kadambani gatayate karnarbudeba spriham. When it enters the whole of my ear, then Arab, we all know crore, koti, Next measurement after koti is Arab. I want to have billions of ears. There's a secret meaning here. He wants many tongues, but he wants billions of ears. We should talk less and listen more. Cheta prangana sangani vijayate sarvindriyanam. And when that name dances within the courtyard of my heart, then all my senses become inert. We're bothered all day long, our senses just bothering us, eat this, go there, do this. But when the name actually enters our heart, then we'll become free from all this disturbance. No jane janita kiyad viramritai krishneti varnadvi. Haridas Thakur was dancing in ecstasy hearing this verse. So then, Ramananda Roy knows all about drama. He's an expert dramatist himself. So he said, how do you introduce the drama? And Rupa Goswami gives him a verse. How do you set the scene? How do you enter the narrator? He's quoting all these verses. Finally he says, and what is the Mangalacharan? How do you glorify the Istadev? Then Rupa Goswami put his head down. And Mahaprabhu said, tell, what is the Mangalacharan verse? Tell. So finally he says, Anarpitam charim charat karuna avatirna kalo samarpaitum unacha ujala rasam sabakti sriyam haripuratra sundara duti kadamba sandipita sararaya khandare spuratu bhasachinandana. Anarpitam, just like we do Bhog Arpan. Bhog Arpan just happened. They closed the doors and did Bhog Arpan. Anarp, not offered. Charim charat, for a very long time it wasn't given. But samarpitam avatirna kalo, but in this Kali Yuga there's a special Karuna avatar. Samarpayitum, before it wasn't given, now samarpayitum, freely given. He's freely giving love of Krishna. Unata ujala rasam se bhakti spriyam. The glory of his own prema bhakti he's giving freely. Samarpayitum. Unata ujala rasam. You can almost taste it when you hear the unata, very shining, developed, pure, ripened, blossomed. Ujala rasam, this Sringar ras, this Madhurya ras. He's giving it freely. Haripurata sundara duti kadamba samdipita. And Purata means gold. There's another name for gold. Haripurata Sundar, he's very beautiful with his golden complexion. Kadamba Sandipita. We know Kadamba is a flower, but in Sanskrit, Kadamba means a large quantity. We see thieves steal just, if you go to Colombia, they'll rip the gold earrings right out of the ears of the girls on the street. Like that, just a little piece of gold. So Mahaprabhu, when he stretched his arms out to the sky dancing, how attractive that must be. Little piece of gold is so attractive, a huge quantity of gold. Haripurata Sundara Duti Kadamba Sandipita, he's glowing with like a huge quantity of gold. May that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu always remain within the, we say core, but in Sanskrit they say cave of the heart. Sadavriya Kandare Spuratu Ba Sachinan. May that Sachinan always remain within my heart. Then Mahaprabhu became upset. What is this nonsense verse? Now, this was like sweet rice, but now you put some sand in the sweet rice. It's like sweet rice is very nice, but if somebody puts sand in it, just imagine, they make sweet rice with sand in it. Sweetness is there, but... And Ramananda Roy said, no, this is like black pepper and camphor. If you ever put black pepper and camphor in the sweet rice, it becomes Amrita Keli. It's so wonderful. It's all right, go on. So then they go on, verse after verse, getting more and more ecstatic. Then finally, Ramananda Roy says, this is not a drama. This is a constant flow of nectar flowing freely from the heart of Rupa Goswami. Nobody can write poetry like this unless they're empowered by the Lord. No one can write poetry unless they're empowered by the Lord. And second time Mahaprabhu says, yes, I met this Rupa in Prayag, and seeing him a fit personality, I have given him my entire transcendental potency to reveal ras. So Rupa Goswami is our rasacharya. So this is twice Mahaprabhu says, so we can understand the position of Rupa Goswami. He's not ordinary person. So then we know later he finished his Vidagdha Madhav's pastimes in Vrindavan, Lalita Madhav's pastimes in Dwarka. He finished them in Vrindavan at Ter Kadam. Very beautiful place. And very interesting pastime, because Rupa Goswami was always anxious to get Srimati Radharani's mercy. Because he understood this is our Gaudiya, we're more interested in Radharani than Krishna. It's like we can hear on the lecture, the morning walk takes Prabhupada. See, here in Vrindavan everyone says Jai Radhe. They're interested. So he was staying at Ter Kadam, and he heard that his brother Sanatana Goswami had come to Pavan Sarovar. So he was thinking, let me offer some nice thing. For those of you who've been to Ter Kadam, you know, even now, 500 years later, there's nothing there. Now there's some fields and things, it was just jungle. We'll get something nice to eat in the jungle. But he was feeling like this. So at that time, very beautiful gopi girl from the village came. And said, Baba, Baba, Baba. And he looked up, he saw this girl. And Rupa Goswami is not attached to anything in this material world, but he saw this beautiful golden gopi girl with beautiful lotus petal eyes. His mind was completely enchanted. He said, Baba, Baba, there was wedding today and my mata gave some sweet rice that was left over. Said, go give it to some Baba doing bhajan in the forest. So she handed this pot of sweet rice to Srila Rupa Goswami. And this was not ordinary street rice. We just put some cashews and some raisins and some cardamom, and we think we got fancy street rice. But in India, when we want to make fancy street rice, we know how to make it, not just cashews and cardamom and raisins. We put little brown seeds called chironji and kesher, what do you say, saffron, so many things. And sometimes we put makana, puff lily seeds. Very opulent street rice. So immediately he ran to Sanatana Goswami. Sanatana Goswami looked at the sweet rice. He knows his brother's living in the forest with nothing there. Where you got the sweet rice? He says some beautiful girl came. She said there was some wedding. Well, no wedding today, because Sanatana Goswami knows everything. He's very dear. Dira, dira. He's dear to the gentle and the ruffians. Everybody knows. He knows everything. He said, no wedding today. Then Sanatana Goswami tasted the sweet rice. Tears came from his eyes. His whole body began to quiver. Then they both understood, oh, that must have been Radharani, because Rupa Goswami was just begging for somehow or other to get the mercy of Radharani. Radharani has come and brought this sweet rice. And they both began to cry, and mixed with their tears, they ate this sweet rice. Anyway, there's so many stories about Srila Rupa Goswami we could tell, but time is going on. We want to glorify something about Gauridas Pandit, but anyway, I hope you can understand the significance of Srila Rupa Goswami. Srila Rupa Goswami Pada Ki. So Gauridas Pandit was a very dear associate of Nityananda Prabhu. He's one of the 12 Gopals. Actually, Gauragana Deshadipika says he's Subal. So this is very interesting because he's one of our very great acharyas. And generally we think of Gaudiya Sampradaya, we think of Sringara Ras, Madhurya Ras. But he was in Sakya Ras, Sakya Prem. He was Subal. And even more interesting, his disciple Hriday Chaitanya was in Madhurya Ras. He was Sakya Ras, the Guru was Sakya Ras. So this is very, very interesting. We'll hear about it. So anyway, Gauridas Pandit was born in a place in Nabadweep called Shaligram. And later, taking permission from his brother, Suryadas Sarkal, he moved to a place called Ambika Kalna. If you go to the Nabadweep train station, and you take the train about first is Bagnapara, and I can't remember now, there's 3 train stations. Third train station is Ambika Kalna. It's on the opposite side of the Ganga from Shantipur, from Advaitacharya's place. So sometimes Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, sometimes Nityananda Prabhu, sometimes he used to visit Gauridas Pandit because he was a very great devotee. He established a beautiful temple of Jagannath and Radha Krishna there. One time, Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda, they took a boat across the Ganga from Shantipur to visit Ambika Kalna. And everybody knows, you get off the train at the Ambika Kalna station, you say Gauridas Pandit, immediately everyone knows. It's a ways from the train station, you take a rickshaw and you go. So they came there, and Mahaprabhu brought the oar from the boat with him. And he gave that oar to Gauridas Pandit, said, you take this oar, and you go across the ocean of material existence and take all the fallen living entities with you. When you go there, if you ask them, they'll bring out this display box. You can see that oar that was handed to him by Sriman Mahaprabhu's very lotus hand. And he also gave him a Bhagavad Gita that they say is written by the hand of Sriman Mahaprabhu, palm leaves. They keep that very hidden, but sometimes they'll show it to you. So Gauridas Pandit, they stayed there with him for some time. He was heartbroken when they wanted to leave. He said, no, 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 you can't leave. I'm feeling so happy in your association. No, we have to go and spread the Sankirtan movement. This is our mission. He said, no, no, you can't go, you can't go. So then Mahaprabhu said, look, what is the difference between the Lord and the deity? He said, no difference. Just like every day we're doing this wonderful Julan Yatra. The Supreme Personality Godhead, who's creating billions of universes, at the same time, later He's destroying them all. He takes this beautiful little form and allows us to swing Him in a golden swing. This is incredible mercy, this Archa Vigraha. It's not metal or stone or earth or wood. It's the Supreme Personality of Godhead Himself. So Gauridas said, no difference. He said, then you call one carpenter, we'll pose, and you get deities made of us. And the deities will stay here. So Gauridas said, okay. So these deities, they were probably the only deities of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu on the planet, same time as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So he carved them. You can see Nityananda, he's a little bit stouter and taller than Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So then Gauridas looked at Mahaprabhu and he saw the deities and they installed them, and he said, so, the deities are non-different from you? And Mahaprabhu said, yes, non-different. All right, then let the deities go and preach and you stay here with me. So then suddenly Mahaprabhu and Nityananda, they froze and became deities, and the deities unfroze and they began to walk. He said, no, 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 you're cheating me, you're cheating me. No, 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 no. So wait, you stop, you stay here. And then the deities, the deities again became deities, and Mahaprabhu and Nityananda, they again became not. No, 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 you're cheating me, you're cheating me. And then they changed back, and finally he lost track who was Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who was a deity. So he accepted that the deities stay with him. Therefore, when you go there to Ambika Kalna, they leave the door open for a little while, then they shut it. They're afraid that he may walk away again. Because another time we'll tell right now how he walked away. But very, very gorgeous deities, Neemwood deities. And just behind his house, his older brother Suryadas Sarkar built a house in Ambika Kalna, also just behind the temple there. And we know Suryadas Sarkar gave his two daughters, Janava and Vasudha, to Lord Nityananda Prabhu in marriage. So he had a disciple named Hridayananda. And he trained him very well in taking care of the deities. And one time he decided, because all sadhus, they like to go travel, see holy places and learn things from other sadhus. So he went traveling. And he left Hridayananda in charge. Gradually, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's birth appearance day was coming. And this is, hundreds of years ago, they didn't do Gaur Purnima festival. It wasn't until much later. Practically Narottam Das started this Gaur Purnima festival idea. So he thought, it's Mahaprabhu's appearance day, we should do some festival. But he didn't have any order from Gauridas Pandit, his guru, but then he thought, anyway, let me do this. So he sent out invitations, he invited all the different sadhus and devotees and Vaishnavas. And then they began cooking a big feast. Meanwhile, Gauridas Pandit came home from his travels on that very day, and he saw all this cooking is going on, big hullabaloo is going on. And he said to Hridayananda, what are you doing? I didn't order this. You become so independent in my absence. What is this? He said, anyway, it's Mahaprabhu's appearance day. I thought we should do some festival. Then you do your festival. I want to be with my deities. Now you go to the bank of the Ganga. So they moved all the kirtan and everything and the cooking down to the bank of the Ganga. And Gauridas sat down and began to cook for his deities. He was very famous cook. He served his deities into his very old, even in his old age, he would cook for his deities. So many different varieties of sak and so much different varieties of rice. And the deities, they told Gauridas, you stop this, you're getting old now, you can't cook so much. He said, no, no, this is my service. So the next day they offered, and they used to eat. He could watch them eat in front of his eyes. The deities would eat the boga. But this particular day they didn't eat. He said, why you're not eating? We told you yesterday you're too old to cook all these things. We don't like to see you laboring like this. He said, all right, but you eat this and tomorrow I won't cook. So like that, the Gauridas had these wonderful pastimes. So he began to cook this wonderful feast for his deities. Then he came in the temple room and the deities were gone. And he looked down by the bank of the Ganga. The big kirtan was going on with Hridayananda. And Gaur Nitai were dancing in the kirtan. Only a few fortunate souls could see that they had left the temple and gone there. And Hridayananda, Gauridas Pandit, he picked up a stick and he ran to the bank of the Ganga, and he began to chase Gaura-Nitai, so they jumped into the side of the heart of Hridayananda. He said, you get back into the temple, you get back in the temple. And from that day, Hridayananda became known as Hridaya Chaitanya, because within his Hridaya, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had hidden himself. And Hridaya Chaitanya, he was the guru of Shyamananda Prabhu. He named him Dukhi Krishnadas, but later Radharani here in Vrindavan gave him the name Shyamananda. So these are a little peek into the pastimes of Gauridas Pandit. The Gauridas Pandit ki jai. So we'll put our voice to rest here. If there's any questions, we can try to give some answer. Hare Krishna. Yes, Jigasu. Where's our mic? Where's our Bhakta mic? Just say it loudly and I'll repeat it.
Example of if Rupa Goswami was not there, he would be not in Vrindavan.
Yes.
So how can we understand?
Because Rupa and Sanatan, they took the work that Lokanath and Bhugarva had started, and they established, we didn't tell about how Rupa Goswami established the Govindadev temple. This is the first temple in Vrindavan. Rupa Goswami was lamenting that he couldn't find Krishna anywhere. And one little cowherd boy came and said, don't lament, Baba. Just in the area of Keshigat, there's a hill called Gomata Tila. Every day a cow pours water into the ground at that spot. You go there and you will find your Krishna. So he went there, that little boy showed him the spot. When he turned around, the boy was gone. Then he understood that Krishna himself had come to show himself. And they began to dig in the wet earth from the milk, and they discovered the beautiful deity of Govindadev. And then a small temple was established. They sent word to Mahaprabhu. He was overjoyed that Govindadev had been found. And later they discovered Madan Mohan and Gopinath even later. A small temple was built by a disciple of Raghunath Bhatta Goswami. Later Man Singh, who was the father of Jai Singh, he built that huge temple that was there. And this was all due to because Rupa Goswami was very expert at dealing with these Muslims. So Akbar was building a huge fort in Agra. He needed all the red stone he could get. But Rupa and Jiva were very expert at dealing with him, so they got permission. In fact, he donated all the red stone for the temple of this huge temple was built there. It was a big one. We could go on and on. Anyway, they built temples, they just discovered the holy places, so whatever we're seeing in Vrindavan, we're seeing only by the mercy of Rup Sanatan. So no other questions, and we'll put our vote yes?
It seems like it's been a certain trend, at least for the past 500 years, when they've allowed people from different religions. So there comes a time that, enough is enough. We were wondering whether there's some kind of process where, this can't happen. And anybody has the right, who's a serious practitioner of the art of Bhakti Yoga, that person has a right to go in and take the darshan of Jagat. I mean, this is more like a rhetorical conversation.
So more or less the question is, it's been so many hundreds of years, and why is it that serious practitioners of Bhakti Yoga cannot enter Jagannath Puri temple? So anyway, Prabhupada predicted that one day we'll be able to see this. Things are loosening up. I have few friends anyway. I don't go to Puri that often anymore. There are a few nice pandas there that really appreciate what Prabhupada has done, and things are beginning to open up a little bit. Let's see, maybe that time will come. Just like here in Vrindavan, there was this Ranganath temple. They didn't allow foreigners to come. But there was one, I think from Slovenia, one lady, she pestered and pestered the trustees. And they finally sat down together and said, these people are actually Vaishnavas. Why we shouldn't, so Vaishnavas are allowed, just like Ranganath temple also. Tourists, you can only go into there's 7 gates, but tourists are only allowed after the first gate. There's some beautiful sculptures there. But when they see us with tilak and shaved head and dhoti and kurta, they allow us all the way up to get darshan of Lord Ranganath. And that Murli Bhatta, who's the descendant of Venkata Bhatta, he's always very happy when devotees come. He says, I feel like when I see ISKCON devotees, I feel like family has come. He's one of the more important persons in Ranganath temple. He's a descendant of Venkata Bhatta. And he said, actually, we're Gaudiya Sri Sampradaya. He said this with his own mouth to me last time I was there. So let's see, let's pray. Hare Krishna.